distance ያሉትን ፖይንቶች ላይ አንዳንድ ጥያቄዎችን አንዳንድ ፕሮብሌሞችን እናያለን ሶልቭ እናደርጋለን because ሁሉ ቀን ፊዚክስ ሲሰሩ መጀመሪያ ማድረግ ያለባችሁ ፕሮብሌሞችን ሶልቭ ማድረግ ነው you got to solve ፕሮብሌሞችን ሶልቭ ካላረጋችሁ ምንም አይነት ዲፈረንስ አይመጣም so let us do some problems some equations specifically ደግሞ አንዳንድ ፋክቶችን ካየን በኋላ ወደሚቀጥለው ቪዲዮአችን ወይም ወደ lesson 3 ነው የምናልፈው which that is the acceleration so let's start so መጀመሪያ ላይ I would like to start by this but መጀመሪያ ያነሳናችሁ አንዳንድ ፖይንቶችን ከእንደገና ሪቫይዝ ላድርግላችሁ ብዬ ነው the first part that we have to see is always the magnitude of distance is greater or equal to the magnitude of displacement at the same time the magnitude of speed is greater than or equal to the magnitude of velocity ይሄን ሁሉ ቀን መያዝ አለባችሁ this is very important የሆነ general fact ነው and the reason for that is because these two are vectors ስለሆኑ they could be positive they could be zero or they could be negative because they could be negative this fact ሁሉ ቀን true ነው የሚሆነው in this problem with the regard ላይ I think let's start ስለ እስካሁን ያየናቸውን specifically ስለ distance እና ስለ displacement ያየናቸውን ፕሮብሌሞች አንድ በጣም በቀላሉ cover የሚያደርግልን አንድ ጥያቄ ብኒ I think it would be better so let's start this question let us suppose that የሆነ we have some wheel ወይም የሆነ ጎማ አለ so we have this wheel and now like this wheel እዚህ ጋር ያለች point አለኝ I'm going to call it some point P and this is the center of course I'm going to discuss we have some radius r let me actually write it in small letters ለማትማክስ and then now suppose that this wheel roll ያደርጋል roll ካደረገ በኋላ it comes to this position right here እዚህ ይደርሳል so እዚህ ጋር ሲደርስ the point P has now been translated what is the so ወደ ላይ መጥቷል originally ከነበረበት and now suppose that it rolls once it rolls ይሄን በስነ ስርዓት ማለት አለብን it rolls once አንድ ጊዜ ብቻ ነው ሮል የሚያደርገው that is roll ማድረግ ማለት ፖይንቱ ሙሉ ለሙሉ ቦታውን እስኪቀይር ድረስ ይንቀሳቀሳል ሮል ነው ያደርገው now ማየት ያለብን እዚህ ጋር ያለችው ፖይንት P ከዚህ ወደዚህ ነው የመጣችው in one rolling way አንድ እንቅስቃሴ ማለት ነው so the only way this could happen is if it rolls specifically half a revolution ከሄደ ነው that is ይሄ wheel ከዚህ ፖይንት ወደዚህ ለማምጣት ሙሉ ሳይዞር ግማሽ መዞር አለበት አይደለ so ከዚህ ተነስቶ እዚህ ጋር መጥቶ እዚህ ጋር ሲቀመጥ ድረስ 1/2 ነው ይዞረው that is 1/2 of a revolution ነው ሄደው right so 1/2 revolution zero ነው ፖይንቱ ወደዚህ የመጣው ማለት ነው that is the thing that we have to know now 1/2 revolution ደግሞ what ምን አይነት distance ነው የሚለው ማወቅ አለብን specifically when we're trying to talk about ስለ distance እና ስለ displacement ስናወራ መጀመሪያ ማወቅ ያለብን what is the translation in point for point P ነው right so remember what I said we said that displacement is a vector right it is ምንድን ያለው it's a line ብለናል right drawn between the initial position and final position ምንስለው line is what we call the displacement so this is the initial position this is the final position is the displacement between A and B so how can we find this displacement what is the magnitude of our displacement is the question now to solve that we can see that this forms a right angle triangle right angle triangle no form ያደርግልን the right angle triangle as you can see ziga so if I draw a line like this we have a right angled triangle ከዚህ ያለው distance is twice of the radius it is the diameter of the circle which is 2r የሬዲየሱ እጥፍ ነው የሚሆነው ከዚህ ያለው distance እንዴት ነው የምናገኘው ነው እሱ የምናገኘው from this fact half a revolution ነው ሄደው now one full revolution when the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r right so half a circumference when half a revolution ደግሞ የዚህ ግማሽ ነው የሚሆነው ሁለት ይጣፋና pi r ነው የሚሆነው this means the distance between this point and this point is pi r so now we can use Pythagorean theorem right Pythagoras theorem መጠቀም እንችላለን that is c squared is a squared plus b squared because of that ከዚህ ያለው let me call it x this ማናውቀው squared must equal to ከዚህ ያለው pi r squared plus ከዚህ ያለው 2r squared ይሄን ስንደምር ምንድነው የምናገኘው? we get pi squared r squared plus 4 plus r squared, right? R squared is common, so r squared now this is going to be r squared into 4 plus pi squared. So this is the answer. Because of that, we say that the displacement, the magnitude of the displacement is r squared into pi squared plus 4 ማለት ነው. So it is r squared into 4 plus pi squared. So this is the displacement. I think አሁን ያየነው displacement ያየነው example is pretty enough ስለ displacement እና ስለ distance ያለንን ጥያቄ እና አይዲያዎችን ለመሸፈን. The next እና በጣም አስፈላጊ የሆነ ሌላ problem ወይም ሌላ question ምንድነው? It's about average speed እና average displacement, average velocity. So what's average speed? What's average velocity የሚለውን አይተናል. So let us solve one question. Now suppose that a car covers 2/5 of the total distance. 2/5 of the total distance with speed v1 and 3/5 የተቀረው ማለት ነው 3/5 distance with v2. Then what is the average speed of the car? ቪዲዮን ከፈለጋችሁ ፓውዝ አድርጋችሁ you can always try, you know, on your own. መጀመሪያ ተጠየቁ ራሳችሁ ሞክሩና and then በቪዲዮ ተመለሱ ቪዲዮን ፓውዝ አድርጋችሁ መሞከር ትችላላችሁ. So we have some distance ከA ወደ B ያለን. Let me suppose እዚህ ጋር ያለው is 2/5 of the distance ልበለው, this is 3/5 of the distance ልበለው. So 2/5ን ከዚህ ወደዚህ by some speed v1 ከሄደና የተቀረውን 3/5ን ደግሞ ከዚህ ወደዚህ by some v2 ቢሄድ, what is the average speed of the car is the question. Now the average speed of the car ለመስራት always remember the equation. V average is x total over t total, right? So x total means መጀመሪያ የሄደው x1 ሲደመር x2, that is 2/5 of the distance ነው የሚለው 2/5 of total distance x ልበለው plus 3/5 of total distance x ሲካፈል for የሄደበት time, that's t1 ሲደመር t2. So 2/5 x ሲደመር 3/5 x is x ራሱ x ነው የሚመጣው. So this is x over t1 ሲደመር t2. But t1 እና t2 የለንም. What we have is v1 እና v2 ያለን, which means we have to write t1 and t2 in terms of x እና in terms of v1 and v2. How do we do that? Well, since we know that v average is x over t1 plus t2, and we know that t1 is x1 over v1 መሆኑን ስለምናውቅ, and we know that x1 ደግሞ ምንድነው? It is 2/5 of the original distance ነው, 2/5 of x over v1, and t2 x2 over v2 ነው. v2 ግን 3/5 of the total distance x ነው over v2. ስለዛ let us substitute እነዚህን ሁለቱን ይዘን right በt1 እና በt2 ቦታ. So I'm going to have x over 2/5 of x ላይ ያለ ከፈለጋችሁ you can say here divided for v1 ከተሰላለን ሲደመር 3/5 of x over ከእንደገና በv2. So x common አለን. common xን ማጥፋት እንችላለን because denominatorም denominatorም the same x ስላላቸው let us remove the x's. So what do we get? We get 1 over 2 over 5 v1 plus 3 over 5 v2. Right? ይሄን የምናገኘው specifically. So when we take this one, let us do simple calculation, simple mathematics. That is እዚህ ጋር ያለውን crisscross እናድርገው. When we do that, let me remove this እዚህ ጋር ያለውን. So when we simplify ስር ያለውን, we get 1 over, we have 2 times 5 v1 ከፈለጋችሁ times 5 v1 specifically over 3 because we have actually common 5 ስላለን let us remove common 5 plus 3. This is over 5 common ላውጣና remember wait እዚህ ጋር ላስተካክልላችሁ. This is 2 over v1 plus 3 over v2 times 1 over 5 no 1 over 5 ላይ ይወጣል so we're going to have 5 over 2 over v1 ሲደመር 3 over v2 so when we simplify this we're going to have 5 over 2 v2 plus 3 v1 over v1 v2 so ይሄን ወደ ላይ ስናነሳው 5 v1 v2 over 2 v2 plus 3 v1 ነው የምናገኘው so when we simplify this would be the answer because of that ጥያቄ ካገኛችሁ we can solve it in this mechanism so finally if an object this means if an object travels 2/5 of the original distance 2/5 of x ይሄ ሙሉ x ቢሆን and 3/5 of x ደግሞ ይቀረው ከዚህ by some v1 ከዚህ by some v2 ቢሄድ the average speed is given as 5 v1 v2 ሲካፈል 4 2 v2 ሲደመር 3 v1 so ከዚህ መሳሰሉ ጥያቄዎችን አሁን ባገኘናቸው የባስቀመጥናቸው ኢኩዌሽኖች ተጠቅማችሁ መስራት ትችላላችሁ እነዚህ